In this lesson, we'll animate the wolf's fall. Okay, let's get right to it. Again, we'll want to grab all of the controls we need to translate the creature down with. Let's grab the arms, the elbows, knees and legs. We don't want to forget about the center of gravity. Won't get too far without it. Here are the knee controls. If the geometry is getting in the way, go ahead and just control click it to deselect. Head over to your scene layers, and you can go ahead and turn off the selection on the set layer. I'll go ahead and grab the center of gravity now. We'll move over to frame 50, and this is where we want to go ahead and translate the creature down. Looks like there's one more control to grab. There we go. And after translating him down, we'll want to also slide him over. So he's going to hit the floor and kind of slide a bit. So we'll go ahead and check the distance here. Looking at the pose on 40, comparing that to 50. Almost want to translate him in a bit more on 50, considering his weight. Don't want him flying too far back. And then we also need to think about our last pose, just making sure that this is all going to work out. All right, great. So we can now start to tweak 50 a bit more. Let's go ahead and grab the center of gravity here. Kind of start twisting that around. We want to straighten out his back a bit. Let's go to the back control and start to rotate that back. We'll do the same thing for the chest control. Now, I'd like to point out that right now I'm working with X-ray on. If this is a bit distracting, you could always go to your display type menu and turn off X-ray if you find that a little bit easier on the eyes for selecting controls. All right, taking a look at things from the shot camera, we could always maybe rotate the chest up a bit, add more of a twist here, opening up the chest a bit, and we want to, from there, just go ahead and start to tweak the center of gravity a bit more, dropping the character down. And we need to think about what's going to hit right now. It's going to be his right knee and right elbow first before the body actually hits the floor. So I'll go ahead and start to take the right arm and bring that down. We'll now go to the elbow control and swing that around. Great. For the left arm, that's going to swing in closer to the body. So go ahead and bring that in. And we can go ahead and have the wrist point down and in. Great. We want to push the silhouette of this arm, so let's go ahead and take the elbow control and just kind of bring that up a bit. Looking at the neck and head, we'll want those to rotate down for more drag here. I'll go ahead and take the neck and twist that around in the Z-axis a bit and do the same thing for the head control. To fix the pose, we're basically thinking about where he's falling from and how that pose would be. It almost looks like we need to curl the chest in a bit more. I think it's straightened out a bit too much. Okay, great. So this is coming along together very well. We'll want to drop that left clavicle down. Just want to make sure it's not broken. Okay, great. Taking a look at the right wrist, I might just go ahead and rotate that out some. And then, considering how he's landing here, we'll want the fingers to clump together, so we don't want to forget about that when we pose them. So, how hard he's hitting on this floor is certainly going to affect how the fingers react, of course. So, don't want to forget about that. Right now, I'm just taking a look at the elbow, just making sure it's not intersecting through the floor too much. If you find that's the case, we could always tweak, let's say, our center of gravity, just bringing the character up a bit more. Great. Looking at the silhouette in this left arm, we'll just go ahead and just drop that a bit so it's not too close to the body. Great. And now from here, let's go ahead and take the left leg. There's going to be more stretch here, given the force that he's falling with. So we want to reflect that in this pose. Let's go ahead and bring that left leg up, and we'll twist the ankle up as well. And there's going to be more of a squash with the right leg. I find it a little bit easier at times to work with X-ray on, so I might just go ahead and keep it there. That way we can grab our controls a little bit faster. But if it is distracting, you don't have to keep it on. So considering drag here, I'll go ahead and have the ankle rotate up. Nice, and we'll go ahead and pull it back in the X-axis. And now taking a look at the right knee, let's go ahead and grab that control. Start to drop that down so we can bring the knee up. This is looking really nice. Great. All right, so there is the next pose. Let's look at the fingers. We can just go in and kind of curl them in a bit. Remember, once they reach an extreme, then we want them to move in the opposite direction to loosen up. They're not going to remain at that extreme. So I'm just bringing them a little bit closer together, kind of clumping them up together a bit on this left hand. We're thinking about reverse here. So if we move in one direction, then naturally we're going to move in the next or the opposite direction. So we don't overexert ourselves. Of course, there will be extreme moments like that, but eventually we come to a rest, and that's what reverse is all about. Now, looking at the right hand, again, we just want the fingers to fall together and kind of clump together. So we can start with the index and pinky, just get those posed the way we'd like them to be, and then we can go ahead and work on the ring and mid fingers till we have a desirable pose. Very fun. Okay, the thumb, we're going to need to drop that for sure. Let's go ahead and take the end and kind of curl that in and do the same thing for the mid. Then we'll go ahead and rotate that up. Beautiful. So there's our next pose on 50. Creature hits. And now it's time to create a slide here. Let's go to frame 60. We'll grab all of the controls we need to use to slide him over. And after all of those have been selected, I'll just go ahead and double check here. We have the knees to select. We have the center of gravity. Let's go ahead and slide him over just a bit. And we want to think about his weight, so he's not going to slide too much. And then we also want to think about that last pose. So I might bring him over a bit more in the x-axis. Great. All right, so from here we can refine this. Now thinking about reverse again, in contrast, you can see that his upper body is tilted upward. Taking a look at the line of action that's created from his head to his pelvis, you can see this line of action here. So now what we need is the reverse, where his back actually hits the floor. So we're going to take the center of gravity and rotate that down and twist it out in the y-axis. Great. We can now go ahead and take the chest control, rotate that out. Do the same thing for the back control, just slightly. And now we can take the neck control, rotate that back. Thinking about follow through and overlap here. Want the head to be thrown back a bit. All right, great. So from there, we can go ahead and take the left arm and throw that back behind the character. In the polishing techniques tutorial, we will go in and create an arc in the arm, we'll learn how to do that in Softimage so we can get a really nice flow as the creature hits. So we do cover some really fun techniques that I think you'll find very useful. So feel free to take a look at that once you have the blocking techniques tutorial down. Great, let's go ahead and take the right arm, and that is going to get thrown back as well. We want to take the wrist and rotate that back. Great. And the elbow looks great, doesn't it? Nope, we'll need to tweak that. Let's go ahead and take that right elbow and swing it around. Taking a look at the chest, we'll want to add more of a bend here and more of a twist in the position of the arms and how the creature's hitting the floor. And then we can take the center here and kind of just drag that up and rotate it down. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and now take that right arm and bring it out just a bit more. And take the right arm, tuck that in closer to him. We'll scrub back and forth from the pose on 50 to 60, just making sure we like what we see. It looks like that right arm needs to be dropped on the floor here, and then we'll need to grab the right elbow and just bring that up, just so that the hand is lying on the floor the way it should. And now remember, with squash and stretch, we should also think about reverse here too. So since the left leg has stretch, now it's time for that to squash, and now it's time for the right leg to start stretching. Now before we do that, I'll just go to frame 60. Looks like there's a pose on 61, so I'll just go ahead and delete that pose on 60 and slide 61 over to 60. All right, let's go ahead and finish up here. So we don't have much work to do. We'll go ahead and grab the left leg and start to bring that in. We don't too much of a squash here because we need to think about how the pose will gradually change. We don't want a snap in our pose. And then we'll gradually want to have the right leg start stretching out. So I'm going to bring that up as well. And then we can go ahead and take the knee control on the right leg and go ahead and drop that. In the polishing techniques course, we'll create a really fun part of the animation where the legs kind of hit, and then when the creature lands, we'll create a knee bounce just for some more weight in the legs. I'll go ahead and take the ankle, rotate that up a bit more, make sure that the knee is brought down a bit more here. Okay, great. And for the left leg, let's go ahead and grab that knee control and bring that up to fix the silhouette. Then we'll correct the ankle so it's not at this weird extreme. Just kind of loosening it up a bit. Very nice. I think to finish this pose, it's almost just a matter of just going to the center of gravity and tweaking that a bit. I might go ahead and rotate it up just slightly and then translate the character down a bit here. But we still want his back to be touching first. We're not ready for the body to actually hit. We can worry about that in our polish pass. We can create a breakdown if we need to. All right, there we have it. Great. So that's going to finish up this lesson. In the next lesson, we're ready to finish our extremes.